real glamorous, good-looking, well-dressed woman. And here's Clara Bow with her lips big as this, and she's licking her lips and looking right at you. Who know you? Yeah, big Farmer Brown's without a romance. And there's Mrs. Bush, she's looking at Rudolph Valentino, put the eye on her, and turns out that human beings love quantum, cybernetic, speed of light information. Don't talk to me about chiseling on a marble thing, or don't talk to me about human beings. The human brain, turns out, is a quantum Einsteinian Heisenberg instrument designed over 4.5 billion years with 100 billion neurons. Each one has the computing capacities of a big Macintosh. You got 100 bits on there, and it's waiting to have this equipment turned on and booted up and activated, and that's what the quantum physical roaring 20th century is all about. You got World War II, and you got then of course you got television. Wow, television. Who would believe? In your own home, you got a little appliance, quantum physical, Max Planck appliance, and you just dial, and suddenly there you got optics, color, and so forth. Well, people don't forget the average American family. 7 hours a day watching a movie. Now, that's scary. All of us have really pondered and wondered and worried about, hey, is DNA code going to finally leave us in the lurch? Are we going to become a race of idiots? They're on amoeboid chemicals, glued to the junk food coming out of ABC. Is that 4.5 billion years going to lead to that? You remember 1984 by George Orwell? His worst nightmare was that Big Brother would have a screen in which he could watch you in your living room or your bathroom or your bedroom. Now, you could always kind of get around the corner. But what Orwell never dreamed of was that in America and from most of the world today, people voluntarily line up in front of the boob tube and become vegetables. Scared. Well, that was a scary situation. But what happened in the history of evolution of life on the planet, life's been around for trillions of galaxies and trillions of go-rounds. So the life planning situation is not a novice here. When it's time for something to happen, it happens. And the thing that really turned the 20th century around and saved us from becoming a nation of boob tubes happened. This gave birth to it, not in a manger in Bethlehem, but in a garage in Silicon Valley, where St. Stephen the First and St. Stephen the Second brought forth the ultimate home quantum cybernetic appliance, the personal computer. And they call it Apple. I love that. I've talked once with Steve Jobs, and the other time I talked to Steve Wozniak, and I said, when you call it the Apple, are you thinking about, that scenario in the Bible about, the heavy-duty Jehovah says to Adam and Eve, you all can do anything you want in paradise here, but there are two rules and regulations. See that fruit of that tree, that's a controlled substance. Y'all are not supposed to have an apple from that tree, that tree of knowledge. Yeah? As soon as God got in the squat car, Eve went over to the apple and like the logo of the great company took that bite out. Anyway, that was 1976 when the apple came on up time. Came on just exactly when we needed it. The timing is almost precise when you think about it. Of course, the psychedelic drug movement of the 60s and 70s helps, because you can't take a species which has 100 billion neurons packing around its skull, but who are imprinted and socially conditioned to package knowledge in the form of marble tablets that God put down, 15 commandments and the lost 5, whatever or the creative book, they're used to all of that, they used to talking and thinking lettered words, and they got all this equipment up there. How are you going to get them to boot up the circuits of their brain, get them used to dealing with bytes and bits and kilowatts of all sorts of information? How are you going to get them ready for the computer? How do you get them? You don't have an IBM because they become robots. How are you going to get people to really harness up their nervous system to the computer? plasticity. There are a lot of receptor sites in the human brain, and every neuron has got a little lock there that can be opened by a certain chemical key. And what you saw in the late 60s and 70s was an inevitable and historic thing that people have got to get used to the fact that the universe, according to quantum physics, is psychedelic. It's moving and changing at a multi-level, all the states are Einstein. I was in the too. When we first started studying psychedelic drugs, I'm not talking about the body drugs, the forms, I'm talking about psychedelic drugs which expand consciousness, overload it and so forth, diffuse it and all that. When we first doing our research at Harvard, we had no language to discuss it. We went through the textbooks of Hinduism and Buddhism, and everybody did. They were all running around with the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Any half-baked yogi and occults came along with some new we sat down and listened to it, your Jesus control, you name it. We wanted to find out what's going on here, because Western psychology had no words for this stuff, and eventually we finally what's going on. We started working with art engineers that work with light. Remember, we would have an anatomical movies of cells going around. We'd play some rock and roll, and then we'd have some slide projections of your mother on top of it. We're trying to get some feeling for the multiplicity and complexity and through the good computer terms, for the enhanced high-resolution quality of the human brain stuff. So this whole new art form of special effects and Lucasfilm and Kubrick and so forth, it's all part of the same roaring 20th century getting ready to deal with reality what it really is, which is this is on this. So, how long have I been talking? Not long enough. Not long enough. Now, one thing that you know and I know, that no one today, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But can you tell me one politician, one statesman, one columnist, one writer who can give you a clear blueprint of what to do for the next 15 years? Huh?
Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, Benjamin Franklin, bring down lightning. I can go for that. You got the four-letter words of the Republicans: Dole, Bush, Kemp, and Bork. You got the seven dwarfs of the Democrats, and those guys just don't understand. It's a whole new ball game, and the first time anyone comes around and tells things kind of in a, really what's going to happen, people are ready to listen. I'll tell you, there's a hunger. There's an absolute void. People are desperate for some scientific, logical, common sense blueprints of what we can do and what's going to happen. And I'm looking around, and I've run into one set of interesting speculations where, naturally, it's science fiction, but not science fiction of the future. See, you think about the science fiction that we used to read in the 60s and 70s, that was really pretty conservative. You had the Princes of Dune, and Princess Leia. Give me a break, Lucas. And it was a kind of feudal situation. The Empire strikes what? The Empire? What are you talking about, man? And Heinlein, they're all kind of engineer types, and there was a lot of hardware. It beat me up, Scotty, but Captain Kirk was a government employee to me. Another Marine out there, What made me is that there was no sociology, no economics, no culture. They were still going around playing World War II games. There's a new genre of fiction. It's called cyberpunk. How many of you know about that? It's an inevitable movement. See, when you think about it, it was time for a new generation of young people to write science fiction. They're up through the 60s and 70s and listen around and road. They weren't going to go for Captain Kirk. They weren't going to go for Obi-Wan Kenobi's. The science, the cyberpunk writers, Norman Spinrad is one. There are a lot of them. Bruce Sterling, but the man that really has kind of caught all of our attention is a man named William Gibson in Vancouver, who wrote a book called Neuromancer, and it's about science fiction book about the world could be in 20 years. It's a real down, gritty, street wisdom, and the hero of the book is like a punk hustling kid who's a computer hacker and cowboy, and he can go into cyberspace and he's rustling AI